Hey all, thanks very much for joining our Monday Mindshare this week as we've been having all of our athletes at Kona coming in. And of course, this is 70.3 weekend in Utah. So we've gone from the heat of Kona to the, it seems, cold weather of Utah. But joining us this week is Raymond Ordoveza. And thanks very much for joining us, buddy.
Hey, glad to be here.
Yeah, it's great. Great to have you back. And I know you had some ordeal getting to Kona with the bike all in one piece, but you got there in the end. A bit stressed out, no doubt.
Yeah, so getting to Kona wasn't a problem. There's a direct flight from Manila to Honolulu, then we just hop on another flight. But my bike, unfortunately, did not arrive with me, but it did eventually arrive. So no worries there. And it arrived in one piece, which is probably the most important part.
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, it's just awesome to catch up. It's been a little while since we have caught up, and you're back in home in the Philippines now. But I would imagine the temperature and the humidity, not a lot of difference between Kona and I would have thought it'd even be hotter and humid in Manila and Philippines sometimes.
Yeah, that's probably the funny thing. So for the Filipinos, or at least the ones from the Philippines, or anyone from this general region who went to Kona, it's actually hotter here.
Yeah.
So when we got to Kona, we were one of the few people who were like, "Oh, the weather's quite nice here. The weather's not bad. I think I'm the only person in a jacket." But yeah, it's about 3 to 5 degrees. Sorry, I go in Celsius, but it's 3 to 5 degrees colder in the Philippines. But there was still a little bit of an adjustment going to Kona. Yeah. Because believe it or not, the humidity is actually lower there.
Yeah, no, I mean,
the humidity in Kona is lower. Yeah. So on my first ride, when I got there, went out, I did a quick ride the day after I got there, and I was just drinking so much water.
Right.
And that was an adjustment. I usually drink about 1 liter to 1.5 liters while I'm riding, and there I needed close to 2 liters an hour, which was something I wasn't used to.
Yeah, interesting. Well, let's back up. Your qualifying race for Kona. Now, what year was that, and which race was that?
Okay. My qualifying race was actually this year as well. It was Ironman Subic 70. Ironman Subic, which is just north of Metro Manila. Yeah. But the funny thing was, I signed up for that race in October of 2019. And I only got to do it this year.
Yeah, right. And just walk through your times there in Subic Bay. What were your swim, bike, run times?
Okay. So the funny thing with Subic is because it got postponed 3 times, we actually didn't think it was going to push through this year. So when they announced that the race was happening, a lot of us were like, "Oh, that's not going to happen." They've canceled it 3 times. So I just kind of trained.
Training was a little loose. Yeah.
Yeah. Training was a little, actually the first 2 times that they canceled it, I knew that it probably wasn't going to push through, but I trained for it. Like it was going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
The race happened with, it was announced 5 weeks before.
Oh, wow.
It was announced before that, but like 5 weeks before the race, we got an email that was like, "See you in Subic on this date," and we were like, "Oh, so it's happening." So, the ones who qualified for Kona were the people essentially who trained despite the cancellations, the people who pushed through. I don't remember my times exactly, but I remember that was my best swim at the time. I swam in the low 1 hours. The bike was a is a horrible course.
Yeah, it's tough, right? It's up and down, right?
Yeah, it's up and down. It was about 1,200 meters of climbing.
Yeah.
And I checked, the average temperature was about 36 degrees Celsius with a peak of 43. So that was an insane bike. That was close to 6 hours for me because of the 5 weeks of training. And the run, I've actually been dealing with an injury. I was dealing with an injury last year. So the run, I really wasn't prepared for that. Well, it was a run walk.
Doesn't matter. It qualified you for Kona. So
exactly.
That's all that matters, right? Well, I always assumed that Philippines, the heat and the humidity would probably be even worse than Kona. So obviously when you got off the plane, you noticed that I assume you got out on the course before race day.
Yeah.
What were your observations just, as you got out on the course, the lava fields, et cetera, any kind of what looked like on video and on YouTube, and then when you actually get on the course, any kind of takeaways pre-race?
Pre-race. So the day after I flew in, I actually assembled my bike and I went out for a ride. Couple of things that I noticed when I got there, like they say when you get to Kona, it feels like you're the weakest person there, right? Or wherever you look around, everyone just looks like so fit, and that was exactly how I felt. The second I got, I was staying in Waikoloa. I believe you're familiar.
Yeah, near the
So
airport.
I was staying in Waikoloa near the airport, and so I just popped out of our hotel, and it's just a left turn, and I'm
Straight
on the
on the
Queen K. So
Queen
it's a
K,
great
yeah.
place to train.
Yeah.
And the second I got out onto the highway, people were just passing me left and right. So I felt like, oh man, so I gotta step up my game. So I started keeping up with those people. And after a day or two of training like that, oh, this isn't gonna happen. I just gotta stick to my own plan.
That's right.
And yeah, but weather-wise, like I mentioned, the humidity was a little lower, so I stopped like twice at gas stations, and I actually went out all the way to Javi to the U-turn point, and I had to load up on liquids again there. But
what did you think about the rolling of the course, and then obviously the ascent up to Javi? How did it feel for you?
It was actually very similar to the course where I qualified at, because we do it on a highway as well. But the thing about the Kona course is there's very few flat sections. You're climbing or you're descending pretty much the entire course.
Yeah, it's very rolly.
It's very rolly. I believe you did the 70.3 there.
Yeah.
It's a rolling course. You're shifting the entire time. So if you're like me, there's not a lot of places where you can get quality time trial training here in the Philippines. So I do a lot of my training indoors. So having relearning how to shift was funny.
Cool. Let's chat about your training going into Kona. You knew you were qualified. What would, if you were, I don't mean in like the, month or two before the race, but in your heaviest volume weeks, kind of what would that look like for you, Ray?
Oh, okay. So I'm with the Endure-IQ squad.
Okay.
So what I did for training was in the months, or let's go as far back as a year leading up to the race. My usual training volume would probably be 12 to 16 hours, and that was my average. But during my peak training leading up for the race, we were doing as much as 20 to 23 hours.
Yeah, right. Okay. And like if you were to look at your miles on the bike or in the pool or running, just in those peak periods, kind of what did it look like for you?
Okay. I was swimming 4 to 5 times a week and getting in maybe 12 to 16 kilometers a week. On the bike, we were probably doing quite a bit more, probably 10, 12 on a peak week once, even 16 hours of cycling. And I did actually most of that indoors, just because of the weather and just because I needed to get some quality training in. And on the run at peak, we were doing 40 to 60 kilometers a week.
Okay, that's solid.
So roughly 4 to 6 hours.
That's good miles, yeah. And so we'll get to your race day in a second, and we'll have a chat about actual Kona race day for you. But as you got closer, dialing up high intensity or maintain pretty much zone 2, a little bit of high intensity, like how did you throttle zone 2 high intensity as you got closer to race day?
So though the way it was periodized as we approached race day, there was still a lot of zone 2 training and a lot of Ironman specific training.
Right.
We did a lot of intervals, just slightly above at 70.3 pace, or just slightly below.
Right.
But I would say probably 80, maybe even 90% was at that zone 2, even though it was at high L2. So very close to zone 3, but just below.
Yeah. No, I mean, that's exactly what Dan says. Most of his Ironman and 70.3 sessions are sitting a lot. Well, particularly Ironman is sitting in that zone 2 space. 80% of it, 85% of it, exactly.
Yeah.
Well, let's chat about it. Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go. You go.
Oh, yeah. So even though it was all at zone 2, it wasn't like all just easy riding. There were a lot of like once a week we do like a strength endurance session, which would happen probably just above zone 2, but very specific to the race. Lots of like 50
high power,
RPM, 60
high
RPM.
Power, low cadence. Yeah,
high power, low cadence.
I think they're some of the most rewarding sessions in terms of getting gains, right? It's not kind of hard on your structural, but it's just great on the muscles, like in terms of building endurance strength.
Yeah, building that strength endurance. And it's not overly taxing.
Exactly.
It's not overly taxing. You can recover from it quite quickly.
Yeah.
And also lots of swimming. Lots of swimming.
Right.
I think like a lot of the easy work, a lot of the technique work really helped because not a lot of stress, but you're able to add on the volume.
Yeah. No.
But go ahead. You were saying something.
No, I was just gonna just jump into your race day, and I guess before we jump into the morning and then into the swim, like Hawaii is a big show, right? How do you kind of, as you go to kind of put your bike in and then you turn up for race day, how are the nerves? Like, I mean, it's just such a big thing, Hawaii, compared to pretty much any other race. How did you kind of take it all in?
Well, so coming into the race, where my fitness was and everything, I knew I wasn't going to make a dent in my age group, at least not yet. So I went into the mindset. A friend of mine, the first time he did Kona, I believe he met Paula Newby Fraser, and she told him, "Okay, it's your first race. Come in to experience the race." Right, and that's exactly the mindset that I came in with. I mean, I have so much respect for the race. I got as fit as I could so that I could race, but I wanted to experience like everything that happens in Kona.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I saw some photos of you guys, the whole Philippines team walking the country walk, and it looked awesome. Looks like you got a really fun crew there at Team Philippines.
Yeah. So at the Parade of Nations, this was the I believe this is the largest Philippine contingent, and of course, this is what would happen with the 2-day format. There's more slots, so it was really fun because there was 39 of us there.
That's cool.
So yeah, lots of support, and everyone's families came.
Yeah,
and we just had a hoot. It was so much fun.
Pretty hard to book a restaurant, right, for 39 people, but otherwise it was good.
Oh, funny thing, I only ate out twice. I made sure to book lodging that had a kitchen, and I did most of my, because I already assumed I'm not waiting an hour or 2 hours for every meal. So
particularly this year, right, where I felt like the hospitality industry was still recovering from COVID, right? So, well, hey, let's jump into race day. So,
go for it.
Race morning, you're up in Waikoloa. So, what's the process to get out of Waikoloa down into Kaloa?
For 2 nights before race day, I actually moved into town.
Yeah.
So
okay.
I was I was able to book lodging 300 meters from the start line.
Right.
So that was really, I mean,
that's good.
If you were coming in, I believe the roads were open until 6 a.m.
Okay.
So you could just drive in. The problem was parking. So because you couldn't park in town because there was limited parking, they made us those people who were driving in from just outside of Kailua, they had to park at the old airport and they would be shuttled into town.
Gotcha. What was breakfast for you, Ray, on race morning?
Oh, breakfast for me. So I'm from the Philippines, so it has to have rice. But what I would do is I would prepare the rice the night before and just try to let it cool. And that would like I
Gotcha.
actually learned this from you. It would increase the resistance to starch.
Yeah,
So
spot
it
on.
would just be like rice and eggs.
Got it.
And then I would do SFuels Prime and a
Okay.
cup of coffee, just
Okay.
enough to get it to that 3 milligrams per kilogram of body weight. So it would be
You
like
should be
a cup and a
buzzing
half
by
of
race start then.
yeah. Well, I would consume it over two
Right.
to three
Okay.
hours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So like the last 100 mg would be like in a bottle
Right.
approaching race start, and then like the cup and a half of coffee. But yeah, you're buzzing by the time you get to race morning. But it's something I experimented with
Yeah. Yeah.
at other races leading up to this. So I
Right.
I knew that it wouldn't negatively impact my race, but that's a great
You're
way to get you pumped for the start.
you're a role model there, Ray. You're just showing everyone how to do it there. That's awesome. Okay, so which wave were you in to kick off? What time did you start the swim?
I was really lucky. We were the wave right after the pros, 35 to 39.
Okay, okay, that's good. So I mean, you've got some beautiful swimming areas, of course, in Philippines, Cebu, and other areas. It's incredible
Yeah,
part of the world, but pretty nice swimming area there in Kailua too, huh?
yeah. The water was beautiful. The it actually the chop was not that bad on the men during the men's race
Okay,
because the women had another day,
bit of
right?
a
And
swell,
they
yeah,
actually had more swells when
yeah.
we got out there. It wasn't so bad, but there was a little, there were some swells, and this is actually something I got the chance to prepare for. So a week before the race, there's the Hawala open water swim where
Yeah,
they put out the boys and they let you do the entire course.
right.
So I actually did that, and that was
Okay.
really helpful because I was able to establish all of the landmarks I would use to cite.
Yeah,
So even though, yeah,
it's quite a like a lot of the swims Ironman courses around the world, it's like a square or a
yeah, it
triangle,
is a
whatever. So
square.
the distance between each marker, maybe it's 700-800 meters, 1,000 meters, but Hawaii, it's pretty much out and back, right? So it's a long straight line
Yeah,
that route.
it's a square. It goes out, then there's just
It
a couple
does.
of maybe like 200 meters, very
Yeah,
tiny turn,
very
and then you
tiny.
come
Yeah,
back.
right.
But yeah. So for this one, they did put out buoys every 100 meters, but because of the swells, you couldn't see the buoys. So
Right.
if you're following the buoys or you're following the kayaks, like you end up just like following feet. Like whoever's in front of you,
Right.
you hope
Hope they're going
that
the
they
right
can
way.
fight.
Hey, so 107, you happy with that? You're 1 hour 7 for your swim time?
Oh, so my mindset when I go into the swim, well, I knew I was capable of going out probably a little bit harder because of my swim focus. But what happened to me there was I got caught in a slightly slower pack,
Yeah.
and that was perfectly fine with me because what I wanted to do in the swim was I wanted to come out relatively fresh. I
Yeah.
wanted to come
Right.
out capable of biking, and if that means I swim like 2 or 3 minutes slower, that's
Right.
perfectly fine.
So be it. Yeah. That's cool. How was your transition? All good? No surprises. It's a big run, right? In this Kona
It's a
transition.
it's a big run, and it's a huge transition. So before the race, I went through transition. I talked to the people who were manning transition. I asked like, okay, where do you pass? I rehearsed it a couple of times. I took pictures on my phone so I could remember. I still remember up to now. I'm in row Q, right? So I knew like, okay, come out of the water, into grab your bag, into the tent, and then row Q, turn right.
That's
I have
cool.
a picture. I have a picture I could show you until now. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's very easy to get lost in that transition and to
Right.
go past your bike or go into a row before your bike, and
Right.
everything flows one way.
Yeah.
So if you make a mistake, you gotta
Go
double
right
down.
around again. Well, yeah, Xander, who one of the other athletes, he came on the other week and he was saying exactly the same. Take a photo of all the different directions
Yeah,
and know where your bike
yeah.
is. So that's cool. You come out of the bike and then, I've been asking all the athletes this, all the commentators in all the different, TV feeds of the Ironman race, they talk about the Palani Hill straight
The
out.
Palani Hill.
So how did you feel about it? Is it as tough as everyone says it is, or what?
Oh, I mean, you look at the elevation and you look at the gradient, and it's plenty tough. But when you see all the Palani is also where all the support is. Like
Spectators.
everyone is just lining all the spectators are lining all the sides. So it may be tough, but you're still pretty fresh. So you want to just come out of there, look good, say hi to people. But I took Palani pretty conservatively. I put it in a gear that I could just spin up, because I knew there was still a lot of the bike course to go.
Yeah. So what was your kind of strategy on heading out to Harvey? How were you kind of planning to take that? Did it go to plan?
No. My bike did not go to plan. I was able to do it in under 6 hours, which was one of my secondary goals. But I did have a planned wattage that I wanted to hit, and for some reason during race day, I just couldn't hit those numbers. And I've been talking to like a couple of coaches, a couple of people I trust within the tri community, and we think it may have been the heat, but I don't think it was a heat, because I come from somewhere that's even hotter. But I did get COVID a few months before the race, and my heart rate has been a little wonky since then.
Right.
And we think it may have been related to that.
Do you know what your times were heading from Kailua up to Harvey and then Harvey back into town? Do you know what?
No, I don't recall top of mind, but I do remember that when I got to Harvey, which is just a little bit past the halfway point, how I do my nutrition is I have 2 concentrated bottles, right? And I know, like, okay, by the time I get to the halfway point, I should finish this first bottle, and approaching the end, I should have finished the second bottle. And because my watts were lower, my first bottle wasn't finished by the halfway point. Right. So I figured, okay, like something's probably wrong here. So I just focused on what I could control, got into a comfortable TT position, and just pushed the watts that I was capable of at a heart rate that felt comfortable.
Yeah.
I did see Xander though. He was having an awesome race. I saw him coming up Javi, and I saw him. He was coming up Javi. I was on the way down, but he started quite a few age groups after me, like probably close to an hour after me.
Yeah, and I think Matt Kerr was in the age group after you, or the wave after you also.
The wave right after me.
Yeah.
Which made for an interesting dynamic, because Matt's an awesome swimmer. And what would happen is, because they did it by age group, people would just be passing you all day, because different ability levels. And that if you didn't plan for that, you would feel like, oh, I gotta stay with these people. just because the races that I'm used to, we would usually do self-seated starts or mass starts, right? So depending on your swim ability, you would come out of the water, and the cycling ability would be more or less together. But now, because the different ability levels are all spread out, you could have someone pushing just like 200 watts, and then all of a sudden someone who does 280 watts, who started an hour after you, is gonna just like zoom past you.
How was the wind coming off Harvey back into town? Was the wind picking up then, or was it still not too bad? Or
for those who are familiar with Kona, it's really known for that headwind, right? And then you have the trade winds. They weren't there.
Right.
They weren't there in race day. We got a couple of gusts coming down from Javi, but the wind during my training days was even worse. So on race day, we actually got really lucky. There was not a lot of wind. I kind of feel bad about that, because I didn't get to experience that headwind. I was all prepared for it. I was like, okay, we're gonna stay topped. But it wasn't there, which is why we had such a record-breaking day.
Yeah, we had one of the ambassadors just yesterday post out from Utah, and this wind in the desert blowing the sand across the roads, and it was just like this film of sand coming across the roads. It looked pretty scary, but yeah, it seemed to be a little bit more in control on race day in Kona, thank goodness. But I know what you say.
It's still tough.
Yeah,
it's still tough. Don't get me wrong. It's still
Yeah.
tough. That the elevation of the course is very challenging, but it was one additional factor that we didn't have to deal with.
Right. And you come off the bike. How were the legs before you got to start the run proper? How did you come off the bike? Pretty fresh, or it was already starting to feel it? Or
I experienced a little bit of cramping in the last hour.
Right.
Okay, so I approached that run pretty conservatively. Also, I guess one of the things was I didn't in training do any time trial efforts at that race intensity wattage for the entire 5-6 hour duration, right? I mean, it's not a good idea to.
Yeah.
But so I was experiencing a little discomfort in my plantar, right? So I came off the bike and a little bit of cramping, a little bit of pain in my plantar, but it eventually just like sorted itself out within the first 10K of the run.
Yeah.
It was actually very helpful because I think the night before the race, Dan sent a message to the Endure-IQ squad, and he was who were participating in Kona, and he was like, the first 40K of the bike and the first 10K of the run are where people are going to go out too hard. And don't make that mistake. Essentially, not exactly what he said, but to that effect. So I knew that first 10K of the run is where I personally always go out a little too hot. So I was just like, the entire first 10K, hold back, and yeah, it's really good advice.
Cool. Well, it sounds like you had a good day, but it obviously gets fairly quiet out on the Queen K when you're kind of out there, not by yourself, but you can have stretches where you're kind of there alone. How was the Queen K and down into the energy lab for you?
Yeah, it was it's funny because you start the course, you do that section on Ali, and there's so many supporters, and people are spraying you with hoses, and it's great. Everyone's around you. Then you go up Alani, and all of a sudden it's quiet. The people start to spread out, and it's pretty far. There's still about 18 Ks to the energy lab, but yeah, it gets quiet.
Yeah.
You have to just kind of focus, find a pace that's relatively comfortable. I guess the great thing was there were a few less aid stations this year, so we were getting aid. We were getting our nutrition and fluids in maybe roughly every 3.2 kilometers.
Okay.
So I was just breaking it up into 3-kilometer chunks, like consistent pace, and then walk the aid stations, take in some ice because it was still hot. What I do is I have a cap. I fill it with ice, and my tri-suit also has 2 pockets, like right over here where some ice can go in.
Okay.
And every aid station, I would fill those with ice.
Gotcha.
And by the time I would get to the next one, it's already melted.
Yeah,
and you would have to take on more.
Yeah.
Nutrition wise, I had 2 bullets with me.
Okay.
And so I was using the SFuels race gel.
Yeah.
And what I really like about the whole system with the bullets is I can adjust the amount of nutrition that I'm taking in. Usually, if you're grabbing a gel packet, you'll just take the whole thing, which is for me during the run that's too much to take in. At one hit. So what I like about the bullets is I can just take in just a tiny bit and then continue running, and then take in a tiny bit, and same thing. I just know, okay, by the 15-16K mark I should be done with this first one.
That's good. Good to hear that's working for you. Hey, so overall for the whole race, happy with how it all ended? You said you want to just experience it. What was the kind of takeaway after doing it?
Yeah, I'm happy I was able to experience the race. I did I attended everything that I wanted to attend, which I think may have been a little bit too much. So maybe if when I do Kona again, I'll probably taper that down now that I've done it.
Right.
But my time is a PR, but I
Great.
do know that I could have gone out probably a little bit faster. I do intend to do the race again, but I'll probably skip next year.
Yeah,
It's also not the cheapest race to do.
I was just gonna say it's not cheap, right?
It's not the cheapest race to do.
It felt
Something I
like
gotta.
though this year particularly, I think with just COVID and everything, that maybe the cost was still a little inflated for a lot of folks. So yeah, but anyway, if you did do it again, you said you'd probably avoid some of the other things on race week or race around the area. It's such an energy, and you got to experience it all once. But
It is.
What if you think about training or fueling or nutrition, any kind of things you'll do more or less of, knowing now what happens on the race?
All right. So let me break that down into the different aspects, because I actually did sit down, analyze my race,
right.
and look through. So nutrition wise, I think like I was able to get fat adapted to the point where I wasn't limited by the fuel that I could carry with me. All right. So one of the things with your fat adaptation during training is that you have to be able to differentiate getting fat adapted for your normal everyday life and the type of nutrition that you would have to take when it's performance oriented.
Yeah.
Which is I really like. There was an article, there was a blog post that Endure-IQ did about right fuel, right time.
Right.
Are you yeah, of course you're familiar with that.
We kind of worked on that one together. So
yeah, that's an excellent starting point for anyone who wants to try to get fat adapted, because it talks about how your general diet is generally low carb, but during the training there's certain amounts of fuel that you would want to take in depending on the session.
Yeah.
And I would probably want to dial in my fueling during those high intensity sessions.
Right.
During the low intensity sessions, I mean, I've done 5-hour rides with no carbohydrate.
Right.
But the second you want to put some intensity into those rides and do them at race pace, I've found that I need at least like 40 to 60 grams an hour to maintain a decent amount of intensity. Yeah. And I would want to experiment with that a little bit more. With regards to training, I don't think like I'm an age grouper, so with regards to the amount of time I have between work, I don't think there's a lot more time that I could dedicate to this. I mean, my employer was already very supportive with the race and everything. I was probably like they extended a good amount of leniency, I guess, towards me for my training. So I don't think I could do a lot more training, but a big area for improvement that I could do is probably with sleep and recovery, because I do have a tendency to just like take on those high amounts of volume too early, just because I enjoy the training, I enjoy the process.
Right.
So some of the things I'll be doing next year is I'll be monitoring my HRV a little bit more. I did just buy a Whoop band.
Yeah.
What just so I could monitor my recovery a little bit better. But right now what I use is HRV for training. Yeah. So it's a nice little HRV monitoring tool where you get your phone, you put your finger over the lens, and it gives you a great approximation, and that's what I use right now.
Yeah. That's good advice.
Sleep.
Talking back to Team Philippines. So yeah, I mean, I was just I saw some of the photos there of all of you guys and gals walking down Elite Drive. Looks like you were having a party before the race start. So there was, what did you say, 39 folks?
38 of us. 38 of us, I believe.
And good finish rate across the team?
Oh, Actually really proud of the contingent. Everyone finished.
Wow.
Every single
That's
person
awesome.
finished, which is fantastic. And then
That's cool.
funny story. So this was Mike Riley's last
Yeah.
Ironman Philippines, and the last person he called across the line was a Filipino.
That's cool. That's cool. That's a good data point. Well, hey Ray, it's always a treat to catch up with you, and thanks so much for all your support, both at SFuels and Endure-IQ. We're glad to have you on the team, and look forward to
Hey,
working together again next year. And
yeah,
regards
looking
to the
forward
whole
to it.
team down there. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
No, you're
It's been a
welcome,
great
and
year.
stay healthy, stay fit, and we'll keep in touch. Folks, thanks very much for joining our Monday Mindshare and joining us to listen to Ray's experience of Kona 2022. Sounds like he'll be back again some year, so we'll have to catch up with him then. Catch up soon, Ray. We'll talk soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
Right.
See ya.
Thanks, and yeah. Okay, I'll stop the recording.